Welcome back to Blocks for Jocks. My name is Alex Feinberg, and this is episode 4. If it's just paper, why do people value it? After Nixon reneged on the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement, everybody in the international community was like, what the fuck, dude? You promised you'd give us gold for dollars and now you won't. Why should we trust you? And why should we accept your dollars, given you've shown no ability to limit their growth to give us confidence that they'll sustain any value in the long term? And we thought, that's a good question. And then some really smart people determined that if we convinced oil producers to sell their oil exclusively in dollars, our dollars, which weren't technically backed by anything, they would still hold value because foreigners couldn't obtain oil without them. If foreign nations stopped accepting our paper dollars, it would be their economies that would crumble because they would not have the ability to access oil. So how did we convince oil producers to sell their oil in dollars alone? We sweetened the deal by giving them weapons and military protection, of course, that they couldn't secure on their own if they agreed to go along with the plan. Okay, you might think. So we got oil producers to accept only dollars for their oil sales. Maybe that seems smart, but what are the broader implications? If the global economy depends on foreign oil to run, which it presently does, and if foreign oil is only sold in dollars, then the global economy also depends on dollars to run, even though our dollars are literally created when banks snap a finger and create a balance in a new customer's account through issuing a loan. Banks profit tremendously through this arrangement, but they are not alone. You see, the government can run massive deficits due to this arrangement too. See, when most governments run deficits, lenders feel hesitant to lend them money back because the lenders know that they might either not get paid their money back, or if they do, they'll get paid back in a devalued currency. Most governments are thus forced to save money because if they do run huge deficits, they'll end up paying higher interest rates in a devalued currency, which will lead to economic instability at home. But when our government, the United States government, runs a huge deficit, they're still able to convince lenders to give them money because the lenders know they will still need to buy oil in the future, and they can basically only do so with US dollars. This oil for dollar or petrodollar arrangement is great if we can keep it going because it loosens spending constraints for politicians looking to expand handouts to their friends and voting constituency. What, you might say, would we need to keep this petrodollar system going? We would need to keep the world dependent on oil and oil producers dependent on the dollar. So if you keep wondering why the US is always involved in wars in the Middle East and the explanations seem inconsistent or contradictory, it's important to remember that there is a lot of oil in the Middle East and the US government really needs it to be sold in dollars alone for their system to continue. The US government has run an on-budget deficit every year but 2 since the beginning of the petrodollar system in 1971. To put that in context, in the beginning of the 20th century, the government usually ran a surplus, and we didn't even have an income tax. So leeches off the federal government, like defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies, or even some voters, will simply not tolerate lower government spending. Consistent government spending deficits, which would not be possible without this dollar for oil arrangement, have allowed politicians to dish out additional cash to those who have propelled them into office.